What are you drinking, by the way? Is that green tea?
It's iced tea from Migros. It's the cult one. It's the best things that we have in Switzerland.
Okay, that's off the
I have
record,
no time
suppose.
for this, but I am sure that if you start to export this to the rest of the world,
right?
You can be billionaire. It could be a business like bigger than Musk or Amazon.
Is it? Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new session of Getting Serious with Woody Wade. I'm Woody Wade, your host for these conversations, and today finds me in the town of Yverdon on the shores of beautiful Lake Neuchâtel, just north of Lausanne a bit, where I'm going to have an opportunity to speak with a man who has spearheaded some of the most amazing technological adventures ever undertaken in Switzerland, or for that matter, in the whole world. But these were more than just adventures. These were adventures with a purpose, and that purpose is to demonstrate the potential of solar power and other renewable energies as well. And that man is my guest today, Raphaël Domjan. So today, he heads up the SolarStratos project, which we're going to be hearing about a lot more in detail in a few moments, I hope. But just to introduce Raphaël a little bit more fully, here's a couple of points that you'll find interesting about his career so far. Way back in the year 2001, he set off on his mission by establishing the world's first solar-powered web server. Now, that was a decent milestone, but pretty small potatoes compared to what came next, because between 2010 and 2012, Raphaël led the PlanetSolar expedition, which achieved the first circumnavigation around the whole world, like all circumnavigations do, but around the entire world in a solar-powered catamaran that had never been done before. After that, he became the first person ever to perform a solar skydive. I'm not really even sure exactly what that is, but from an electric aircraft, and we'll probably ask that question in the next few minutes or so. And 4 years ago, he piloted an electric plane that achieved a worldwide first as well, because on board with him as a passenger was a head of state that had never happened before, and that was Prince Albert of Monaco. So I guess all other heads of state are still flying the old-fashioned way, but Prince Albert, we salute you as a pioneer. Now, the most ambitious of these projects is Raphael's latest endeavor, SolarStratos, which is one of the reasons why we're here to talk to him today. This is a project that aims to bring a solar-powered plane up into the stratosphere. That means to the edge of space. This is a really exciting adventure, expedition, technical achievement already so far. And the whole undertaking is a fascinating story, which we're going to hear about today. So, Raphaël Domjan, thank you so much for being my guest today. We're really looking forward to this conversation a lot. We've been looking forward to it for a long time, planning this. And we want to thank you very much for your time today. My first question to you, just to kick off the conversation, is what got you interested in solar power as something that you wanted to advocate so passionately for?
I do not know exactly why I am in love with solar energy. I know that I really understand that the climate change was something real in 2004 in Iceland, when I saw one glacier that it was completely disappear in about 10 years. So for me, that was a big shock.
That's happening here in Switzerland too, right?
Of course, but in Iceland, in this region, it's even worse than what we have in Switzerland and in Europe. So it was really a shock for me in 2004. Before I start this project with this solar server, we were probably the first in the world.
Right.
I also had the chance to sail with a solar boat in 2002 here on the lake of Mora in Switzerland. And when I had this crazy idea to go around the world with a solar boat, that was in 2004. And since 2004, I am really in love with these technologies. And even today, it's for me even more in love with this technology and this energy, because we can see today that this is start to be the energy of the world in the next couple of centuries.
Right. But it's not just that you were in love with these technologies, right? You decided also that you wanted to sort of advocate for them and become a little bit the public face for some of these new things that were happening, right? I mean, it's not just that you got in this beautiful boat and sailed, well, I don't know if the word is sail, but you actually went around the world, but you did it in order to make sure that people could see the potential of this kind of energy, right?
Yeah, we really, because when I saw this problem of the climate change, of course you can go against the fossil energies and this type of strategy in order to protect the climate. But for me, it was not to go against the fossil energies. It was really to show what we can do with solar energy, with renewable energies.
Okay.
It was more my strategy in order to protect, my the challenge of my life. It's to fight the climate change and to protect our atmosphere.
Right.
This is really the challenge of my life.
Okay. So I like that. It's not that you were coming out and sort of protesting against oil and gas, right? But you were actually showing, hey, look, a positive message. Look what we can do next, right? If we just put our minds to it, right?
Because it's easy always to say, look, this doesn't work. We have to stop. Okay, but what we do if we don't use the fossil energies? We need something. So my goal, my vision was to demonstrate what we can do with solar energy.
Right.
And even at this time, it was very expensive. It was just like confidential technologies. And it was important to demonstrate that we can go around the world, we can fly, we can jump, we can go into the stratosphere, we can go to the polar region with solar energy. That was my goal in order to show what we can do with this technology and with the power of the sun.
Do you think that solar energy is going to sort of solve all of our problems, or not? That's maybe asking a question that's just a little bit too big and broad. But can we actually shift to solar energy in a way that meets the needs? For example, I keep reading about the increased energy needs that we're going to have when it comes to server farms and things like that for AI. And just Bitcoin alone, I believe, requires an incredible amount of energy. And then you have all the people, policies, for example, worldwide saying we need to shift onto electric cars, for example. Can solar energy actually tackle all that, do you think?
Yes, I think I am almost sure that solar energy can provide between 60 to 80% of the energy that our planet will need, and it's coming. You know that last year in 2024, in the world we installed 650 kilowatt peak of new solar cells. It's amazing. It's like, in terms of energy, it's more than 100 nuclear plants just in 2024.
Oh.
So really, the wave of solar energy is coming now, and we will see in the next 5 years, at the end of this decade, probably that solar energy will provide between 23 and 25% of the electricity that we need, that we will use in 2030.
How does Switzerland stand in that shift? Is Switzerland? I mean, I know Switzerland is very heavy right now in hydro, right, and nuclear, and I guess probably a little solar around the margins. Is Switzerland actually making the shift very in a very strong way, in your opinion?
At the end of last year, we were at around 10% of the electricity that is coming from solar energy, and it's quite good already. Of course, it's always possible to go faster, but it's good. 10% is good.
Right.
And if we keep this track, it will be like 20-25% of the electricity that will come from solar energy at the end of this decade. So no, it's coming.
Oh.
In Switzerland, it's really coming.
Right. What are the obstacles that stand in the way of this happening quicker, for example?
Of course, in Switzerland, one of the problems today is not anymore the cost, because it's so cheap if you compare with the normal cost of the energy that you have to buy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems is to get the green light from the authority.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a lot of paperwork to manage, and also the people that they need to put these solar cells and solar modules on the roof.
Right.
We are missing so many people in this field of these technologies to install the solar system. This is I think the two things today that that we cannot really go faster. But we are going faster.
So it's kind of a B2C challenge then, right? In a way, you're saying that the individual decision to install or to shift from.
But just to give you a small numbers, when I start really to be in love with solar energy in 2004, we were at 0.1% of solar energy. 0.1.
Okay.
Today we are at 10%.
Right. So it's 100 times.
100 times more.
Yeah.
And it's really now going up very, very quickly.
Right. Interesting. Do you see any pushback against solar energy, for example, because of, I don't know, the way it looks in the landscape, or I understand on an individual level, maybe people either can't afford or they don't want to make the investment for their, to have the solar panels on their roof. But in a larger scale, right, if you actually had something that would be solar power, well, I don't know enough about it to even ask this question intelligently. Is there such a thing in a country like Switzerland where you could actually have an installation that would be like a plant producing electricity, for example, using solar power? Or is it always going to be individual users who make the change and, they just heat their houses, for example, or they maybe one day they have solar powered cars or something like that? But, when I think of solar power at at scale, what I'm thinking of sometimes is some of these installations that use mirrors, right, to focus the sunlight on I don't even know exactly what it is, but something that collects the energy right at the focal point. And but you don't see anything like that in Switzerland. Could something like that exist, or is that something sort of off to one side from what you actually would advocate for in Switzerland?
In Switzerland, we do not need this type of technologies because, of course, it's a small country.
Right.
And first of all, we need to use the roof of the house that we already have.
Right.
We have just 5% of the roof in Switzerland that are used at the moment with a solar module. So we have still 95% that is available for this to put some solar modules, and we are already at 10%.
Right.
So we see that the potential is quite big.
Yeah.
We have also the motorway as an example. This is one of the projects that they try to do this in Vallis, just next to Martigny.
Yeah.
Also, we have this another project to put solar cells between for the train, the way, I don't know the name this in English, the rail in French, but
the rails.
The rails, thank you.
Yeah.
They want to put solar modules between. So could be just this. It could be 30% of the energy that we need for all the public transportation in Switzerland.
Oh.
So we have a huge potential in Switzerland.
Yeah.
We don't need this type of big solar generator that maybe we can have in Morocco, in United States, because they have much more space than us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Oh, I see. Are you saying that if they actually put solar panels in between the rails of let's say all of the trains in Switzerland, all of the lines, that could power the country, or it's only power the trains?
They can power 1/3 of the energy that we need for all the public transportation in Switzerland.
Wow.
Yes. And this is a project coming from also this amazing area from Lausanne and Neuchâtel. Very nice project.
Yeah. I'm surprised that they're not doing that. If that could work, right? That you expect that would be something they'd be really quickly.
They will do
install.
a test. They will do a test in Neuchâtel this year, and we will see if it's really working or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
And where would you see other areas? Okay, let's look a little bit beyond the borders of Switzerland for a moment. What countries would you see maybe need the biggest moral push a little bit to make them want to make this change? We all hear about how China's adding whatever the number is of coal-fired electric generating plants, per week or day or hour or whatever it is, right? Now, they may also be going in the same direction as solar, right? Because they're just basically doing everything, right? But what do you think would be, for you, for example, what would you see as a country that you could focus your attention on to make a big difference in the short run?
I think China. Really, China. It's the country that they are going so fast. Now 1/3 of the production of solar modules, they are installed in China. And if they keep this speed, it will, because you know that China is probably about almost 50% of the CO2 that we are emitting on this planet.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a lot. So
Right.
if they do this big effort and if they can be neutral in CO2 in 2050, it could be a big thing for our planet and to protect our climate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What role does Switzerland itself have to play in this sort of global challenge? Are there big producers here of solar panels or of any aspect of the actual generation of
You mean
solar energy
in
in Switzerland?
In Switzerland, we do not produce anymore almost. There is still one, Meyerburger, but I think Switzerland can be the research and development center for this technology for the rest of the world.
Okay.
There is many things coming. As an example, with the EPFL, they design solar modules white.
Right.
You don't see that it's anymore solar modules. So this type of technologies, we have a lot of experience in this field in Switzerland, and we have really good people working on these new technologies, like the solar modules between the rails, for the agrovoltaic technologies, for the agriculture. With solar modules. So I think we can be really the place where we will make the new technology of tomorrow.
Where the innovation actually is sort of taking off then, right?
To build the solar modules in Switzerland is too expensive.
Right.
But we can really be the village of this new technology in Switzerland.
That's great.
Yes.
I mean, Switzerland can be innovative in lots of different areas, right? And is. I mean, one of the things that's most amazing about Switzerland is that for such a small country, it always ranks in the top 2 of all the countries based on their innovative power, right? Every year, I think for the past 10 years, it's either been in the first place or place number 2.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? What makes Switzerland so special in that particular regard?
Good question. I don't know exactly why we are like this, and it's not that we are like this since 200 years. It's more like the last 50 years that we start to be, I think probably also with this, the politic, stability in the politic, maybe with the 2 polytechnical schools, Lausanne and Zurich, they are very good, they are pushing, and I think it's coming from them. I don't know exactly because 70 years ago, we were just farmers in Switzerland. Yeah. And the change was very fast. Yeah.
That's right. To go from a follower to a leader, but it does require kind of a mindset change. It's not that a decision just comes from on high, from Bern, for example. We will do this, and everybody gets in line and becomes innovators, right? It doesn't work like that.
I don't think so, but it's also maybe because, we are just alone in the middle of this Europe and we need to have some idea. We don't have anything. We do not have fuel. We do not have gas. We have nothing. So what we have, it's our idea,
Brainpower.
Brainpower, exactly. And I think it's maybe coming from this.
Yeah, makes some sense. Makes sense. But I mean, one of the things that I think I remember seeing this on your website is that you were talking a little bit about the network, including the technical universities, Lausanne and Zurich, along with, and for example, right here where we're having this conversation, is an industrial park that when I walked in here, I just was amazed at the number of companies here, just from the names alone, that are clearly in the technology field. So it's just happening in leaps and bounds here in Switzerland. But do you, for example, in SolarStratos, do you actually make use of this network very much, or you need them, or are you able to do most of the things you need to do sort of, in your own backyard, so to speak?
No, you need always a big network, a very strong network. And I think it's maybe for me, I think it's why I was able to start PlanetSolar, because when I started PlanetSolar in 2004, I was just a paramedic.
Oh.
So I started as a paramedic.
Oh.
So I cannot say that I had a very good network to start a project like PlanetSolar. We spent 30 million. We built the biggest solar boat ever. We went around the world for 2 years for this project. It was a big first.
Right.
But I think it's because it's a very small places, and it's easier to get a network. And in the French part of Switzerland, it's so small. It's so active that it's really, I mean, anyone can start to have a network quite easily.
Oh, that's
and it's
interesting.
probably the best place in the world for me to start a project like a PlanetSolar or like SolarStratos,
Right.
because you have a big company like Nestle, like some others like this company, and it's quite easy to contact them with a small network.
Oh, that's a good segue over to the idea of entrepreneurial activity, right? So, in addition to the technological love that you have, you had to actually make these things happen from zero, right?
Yeah,
And
from the
so
scratch.
that's not easy for anybody to do, right? Whether you're in love with a
You are
technology or
paramedic, you have a Swiss bank account, but it's empty, you know?
okay,
And you
it's
need to
even more hard.
find 30 millions just with a PowerPoint presentation. So you start really from the scratch.
How long did that take you?
It takes, it was quite fast, because it takes 8 years from the moment that I had the idea to
Right.
the moment that we were at the end of the project.
Right.
Start in 2004 and the end was in 2012. So it was quite fast.
That's
Actually,
okay.
it was quite fast.
Right.
So really, when you start from the scratch, you need to have everything you need. And in Switzerland, everything is closed. You don't need 2 days of car or take a plane. Everything is really close. You have the technical side. You have the politic. They can support you. You have also the network. There is everything.
Right.
And everything with quite an easy access.
But did you start this just as a one-man show, or did you have to have partners or financial partner, legal person that went with you and stood by the side of the screen while you made the
I start with my family and friends.
Yeah.
We start with this. We make an association, and we start with 5,000 Swiss francs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at you today.
From the scratch, really from the scratch.
Right.
Yeah.
And for example, SolarStratos being a really challenging and a big project, right? Do you have lots of financial partners who are basically helping you only from the financial point of view rather than contributing in some kind of technological way?
We have about 60 partners for SolarStratos. So there is some of them is just supporting with kind, with some technical support, and some with money, of course. But of course, it's quite a big project. It's really ambitious in terms of technology.
Oh yeah.
We are pushing everything to the limit,
right?
Even more than what we did with PlanetSolar.
Yeah.
But no, we have about 60 partners that are supporting us. Even we have the state of Switzerland, the state of Vaud, Neuchâtel, the city of Lausanne, of Yverdon, Neuchâtel.
Right.
So we have a private company, but we have also the support of the Swiss government.
So tell us about your organization, because I mean, it can't be just you yourself that would go around to these 60 partners. I mean, you obviously needed to show up, shake hands, get to know them, convince them that they could be a partner, right? Or that they were needed and that they ought to support you. But this is, I mean, I'm imagining, I've never been an entrepreneur myself, but I can't imagine how one person could do this on his own, right? At some point, I guess you need to, put together a little team, and maybe on that team is someone who's specialized in partnership building or fundraising or something like that, right? So is that the case with you? Or do you wear that hat yourself?
At the start, it was a one-man show, but with PlanetSolar, to build the boat, we need about 200 people who was working for more than a year to build this boat.
A boat. Sure.
No, of course, it's a team, and I cannot do anything without my team. I have a wonderful team with people in charge of the communication, marketing. We have a lawyer, we have an engineer for the plane, we have a test pilot. So it's a team.
Right.
We are still, the spirit is with the startup.
Yeah.
It sounds like spirit with SolarStratos, also with PlanetSolar Foundation.
Yeah.
We try to do a lot with a really small team.
Yeah.
But we are a big, very nice and very efficient team.
Yeah. So let's talk about SolarStratos again, in a little bit more detail. So how long ago did you actually have this particular idea? Did it come sort of in parallel with Planet Solar, or was it something after Planet Solar was finished that you said, here's a new idea that we can actually apply solar power to something different, and off you went in that direction?
It was really during the tour with Planet Solar.
Yeah.
My shift was from 9 p.m. to 12 p.m. And during the Pacific crossing between, mainly when we were in the middle of the crossing of the Pacific between the Galapagos Island and the Marquesas Island. So I was on my shift alone, and the sky is just amazing. And when you are in the South Pacific, the Milky Way, it's really, you have
Must be amazing.
You have really the feeling that you are not on a boat, but you are on a space shuttle.
Wow.
Between two planets, you know. And it's at this time that I was thinking, okay, if I can go to the end of this project with Planet Solar, what we can do that is more ambitious than the first around the world with solar energy.
Right.
And I had this crazy idea, I think, okay, why not trying to go to try to be close of the star,
right?
Try to see the curve of the planet.
Right.
It's the Icar dream, you know, 4,000 years later, but without burning our weights, you know.
Exactly, without the wax, right?
Yeah. And the idea started at this time. It was in 2011.
Right.
Then, of course, we had to finalize Planet Solar.
Yeah.
And then we started the project in 2014.
Right.
To really try to find some partner and to start to build the plane.
Right. So tell us about the accomplishments that you've actually, because this is step by step, right? You're not, you can't just take off and on your first flight make it to 25,000 meters, right?
Yeah.
So how has that developed?
There is a big difference between the boats, because it's quite easy to put something into the water and to see if it's floating or not, you know. With a plane, you need to fly, you need to go to the air, you need the green light of the authority.
Right.
It's much more difficult, you know, between the boat and the plane. It's another challenge.
Yeah.
So, of course, we start in 2014, we build the company, we find a sponsor, and we start to build the plane in 2015.
Right.
First flight in 2017. Then we had a lot of adventure. We break the wings on 2018.
You broke them?
We broke the wings, yes.
How did that happen?
We did a static test on the ground to see if we can fly with two people. And we break the wings. Yeah, that was not really nice. That was a difficult time. But at least you were on the ground
when it happened.
Yeah, it was on the ground. It was a test to the limit of what the spar of the wings can manage.
Right.
But we break the wings, so then we had a problem with the insurance. Then the COVID-19.
Yes.
But we were always able to go further. To do first already in 2020. We jumped from SolarStratos. It was the first jump from an electric aircraft. We did this just before the Americans, who want to do that before us. But it's also a big first in Switzerland.
Was that the solar skydive that I mentioned in the introduction?
Yes, it is.
Okay, because I wasn't
sure
what the
skydive, but it's also the first time ever that a skydiver jumped from an electric aircraft.
Right.
That's a big first.
I understood that aspect, but what is meant exactly by a solar skydive?
Because the energy that I use to climb with the plane, it's coming from solar energy. So when you jump, it is the energy that you have, it's coming from the sun.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
So it's the first ever solar skydive, but it's the biggest thing. It's the first ever jump from an electric aircraft.
Parachute, you had solar panels or something. I wasn't quite sure.
I didn't jump with solar power. It could be another first, but not for me.
No. Don't blame that idea on me now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So now, what's the latest achievement in the process with SolarStratos? Is it you reached almost 6,000 meters?
Almost 9,523 meters.
Oh, almost 10,000 meters.
Last summer.
Wow.
So 6,000, and the goal of this year is to be the first to fly at 10 kilometers with an electric and solar aircraft. It will be a big first, and we will be the highest. If we can achieve this first, we will be the highest electric and solar aircraft ever.
So you've made it to almost 6,000. And
we did almost 6,000.
Right.
One day we were able to climb probably higher, but we didn't have the green light to fly in this airspace that they were closed for us.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's because of the weather forecast. It's not because someone doesn't want to help us. It was really of the prime of the
safety issue.
It was a safety issue, yes.
Right. Yeah.
But this year, we hope that we will be able to
Right.
to fly to 10 kilometers.
Right. Wow. And where do you do that? You take off from Payerne?
From Sion. It will
From
be
Sion.
valid from Sion,
Right.
and the place where we will do the fly really high will be between Verbier and the Matterhorn, the Cervin, the Mat.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice place to fly.
Wow, it'd be beautiful.
Yeah,
Top
it's amazing.
Top of the accomplishment itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. So, well, I've seen on the website, I've seen that the aircraft itself, the wings themselves are they have solar panels on them. But is that you do need to store a lot of energy before, produced by the sun, right? But stored in the plane somehow in batteries, for example, in order to be able to take off, because that must require an incredible amount of energy. The takeoff after that, there must be some degree of just gliding, right? Or tell me about that, because I'm obviously an idiot. I don't know anything about this at all.
SolarStratos is a solar aircraft like any solar aircraft. So we have a solar module, solar cells, we have an electric engine, and we have some batteries.
Okay.
The pioneer who start to fly with the solar aircraft, the Paul McGrady team,
Right.
they flew with an aircraft without battery.
Oh, okay.
They were completely crazy. They even crossed the English Channel in 1981.
Okay.
But today it will not be possible to do this because, of course, if you have just small clouds, then you cannot continue to climb, and that could be very dangerous. So now we have some batteries, but we charge these batteries with the solar energy that we are getting from the solar cells of the plane.
Right.
So when you are in a record flight, we discharge the battery to 10%.
Right.
Then we recharge with the sun, and we fly only with the energy coming from the sun.
Right.
And the energy that is coming from the solar cells of the plane.
Right. And the flight is about 6 hours. Is that right?
It will be between 4 to 6 hours, depending on the weather forecast.
Right. Wow.
But we already did a long flight, almost 4 hours of flight.
Right.
And I land with 80% of the energy inside of the battery.
So in theory, you could have kept going then, right?
Sorry?
In theory, you could have kept going for another hour or something?
So on this day, it was possible to fly at least almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
More. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I assume there's only one aircraft, right? Or
there is only one.
Backup?
It's already
not a backup.
There is no backup. There is only one.
Yeah.
So you don't want an adventure.
Right. So you don't want to break its wings. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears for a second, and I'd like to know what you think the future is for not for solar energy, because I'm pretty sure I know what you would say about that. But it's more about the future of Switzerland as a center of innovation and as a technological leader. We've touched on that a little bit, but it's such an important issue for some of the people who probably would be watching this podcast to understand, what it is that makes this country so attractive if they are in the technological space. That is there something going on in Switzerland that you're aware of that would either be a really positive sign that things will continue as they are, or maybe even get better, or are there maybe some dark clouds on the horizon about some policies maybe, or even market pressures? Because as you mentioned, for solar power especially, we're talking about that's just one thing. That's not necessarily applicable when you come to other kinds of technology. But solar power has a lot to do with convincing individual consumers to make that switch at home, right? Now, there are other technologies might not be like that, right? So their markets might be more industrial in a certain sense, right? And that would put solar power at the mercy of thousands or millions of individual decision makers, right? Whereas in other businesses, it wouldn't necessarily be like that. So would there be something that you are aware of as a leader in this field already that you would say is a potential obstacle that you would, if you could go to the policymakers, for example, whether that would be cantonal or federal, or even at the level of the EU, for example, and say, this needs to be done. don't go in this direction that you're thinking about going in. This would be a big mistake, and here's why. It's a long question. Do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
I understand.
Yeah.
And of course, there is some really good things. I think in Switzerland, in Europe, there is, we can say the sun,
Right.
but there is also some clouds.
Right.
For me, I can see two clouds. One, it's that the Swiss government, mainly the Federal Office of Energy, they are cutting all the budget.
Oh.
They are stopping
Why would they do that?
because the government has to make some how do you say economy in English? They have
Needs
to
to
save
save.
money. They
Yeah.
have to save money,
Okay.
and so they start to cut everything. So we send a letter just to ask them if we can have a support for one project. They say it's a super project. It's really nice. We would like to support you, but it's not possible anymore because we have no budget anymore at all. So this is something that could make some problem in Switzerland.
Are they cutting mainly new kinds of new projects that would come along?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of them, almost all of them, that they stop everything.
Oh.
Yes. We all the demonstration project,
Yeah.
proof of concept,
Okay.
all the budget for this is done, finished, zero.
Okay. But you have other sources of
There
support.
is,
right?
and it's I think
Alternatives?
what is good. The state of Vaud is really behind. They are really supporting, but I mean the Swiss Confederation. I think this is a mistake. They have to continue to support
Yeah.
research and development in this field.
Okay.
For Switzerland, but also for the startup, they are doing so many good things, and I think it's important for the business and for our economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the second things in Switzerland and also in Europe, we have so much regulation. I also thinking about, when you do a prototype, when you fly with a prototype,
Right.
you need to have, of course, you need to discuss with the authority. This is normal, and you cannot fly with an aircraft
Right.
and do whatever you want.
Right.
But if you compare with as an example, what they are doing in China,
Yep.
in Middle East, or in America,
Right.
to do the same in Europe, and even more in Switzerland, it's 10 times more difficult than if I go to United States, or if I go to Dubai, it will be much, much, much easier. And this is a big breaks for if you want to make some innovation in this field.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I guess it shouldn't be me, but someone could ask you, so why don't you just move the whole outfit to Dubai, for example, if everything would be easier there?
Yeah, but Switzerland is too nice. We can ski. You have everything. I think Dubai is not. It's a little bit. It's not the same adventure. And for me, I am Swiss, and Switzerland helped me since the beginning with PlanetSolar, with SolarStratos.
Right.
So I think I am also Swiss, and I want to achieve this adventure with Switzerland as a partner and in Switzerland as much as I can.
Yeah, I understand. That, and that makes a lot of sense. Are you hopeful that the situation with regard to bureaucracy and financial support from the federal government would improve?
I think it will. I think what we can see now. I mean, I am thinking more about the Europe. They understand that if we do not want to be the last, and just China, and to leave China and the United States in the first, I think we need to change this spirit in Europe. It's always to add rules and rules and rules every day, and this is not possible anymore. And I think they understand this, and I hope that they will start to change this. I think it's important if we want to continue to have this pioneer spirit. The pioneer spirit, this is something that we can find in Switzerland, that we can find in Europe. Right. But if you put so much rules, then the people who are pioneer, they will just leave, and they will go to the United States. They will go to, maybe not to China, but to some other part of the world.
Where life is easier.
Exactly.
Or work is easier, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, it's interesting because as a person who lives here in Switzerland, my impression has always been that this country is way easier to establish a business in than, I won't name other countries, but just going across the border a little bit, right? So when you talk about regulatory restrictions, I get that, but I always think of that as Switzerland being kind of a little bit of an oasis, where those things don't. It's, of course, they must apply to some degree. We all need some rules, right? But compared to the other countries around us, Switzerland has recognized, and maybe this is part of this innovation mentality, or the progress in innovation that the country's made over the past few years. That part of it has to do with the freedom that you have, or the relative freedom that you have. So you're talking about an entrepreneur who would say, oh, there's too many rules here. I'm going to Dubai, or I'm going to California, or something like that. That what happens in the countries around Switzerland, they say the same thing, but they say, I'm going to Switzerland, right? Because it's all relative, right? But when they come to Switzerland, they actually can do the things that they wanted to do with a lot less sort of big brother looking over their shoulder. Am I right about that?
You're right. In one hand, Switzerland is like an island. And as an example, if you want to start a new company, it's very easy.
Yeah.
This is very easy.
Right.
If you are talking about the rules of for aircraft, the problem that we are in the EASA group, and EASA group, this is the European group.
Right.
And in that case, Switzerland, they have to follow these European rules.
Sure.
You know, they can do for something, they can still, but mainly they have to follow these rules of the European.
And I guess, it matters that you happen to be in one of the most heavily regulated segments of entrepreneurial activity that there could possibly be. I can imagine maybe some biotech that might be pretty strict as well, right? Let's hope. But yeah, when it comes to aviation and aircraft manufacture and safety and all of those things, you've just got tons and tons of rules that you have to follow, right?
Actually, they try to help us. I have to be honest, that it could be worse. They really try to help us. And they were behind us, try to help us, but it's still more challenging that if we start the same project, probably in the United States, that will be much easier.
Maybe they wouldn't try to help you in that case then, right? I'm just thinking maybe, to have I won't use the word insider in the regulatory agencies, right? But someone who is on your side and says, look, the rules are there for a reason, but they're going to hold your hand, and they're going to show you, come on, we're going to navigate this together, and I'm going to show you how it works. That would be perfect, right? I mean, not perfect. The perfect would be that maybe some of these rules didn't exist in the first place. But to have a partner that you can actually rely on, that can help you through the weeds, that can't be a bad thing, right? And are you saying that that's what you have?
Anyway, you can see what they are doing in the United States with Elon Musk, with SpaceX. All of this, they are going to Mars.
Right.
And when you want to manage an electric aircraft in Europe, in Switzerland, there is so much regulation. If you really want to have some new technologies coming, you need to make a space for the people who want to make new adventure in this type of field, aircraft, space. I think you need to organize something. Otherwise, in 10 years, they will be the first, and for us, it will be difficult. For Europe, I mean, not only Switzerland.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Are you Switzerland's Elon Musk?
I was.
You were? Yeah?
Not anymore, because now is a little bit not anymore in the same spirit of me. But I had the chance to meet him many years ago.
Okay.
And I think what he did before, Tesla, SpaceX, that was really crazy. And for me, it was really doing something for a better world until maybe 1 or 2 years.
So that's maybe an inspiration for you, right?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's great. Fantastic. What else should I ask you? That's a tough question. Is there something you'd like to talk about that I haven't touched on?
Maybe just why Switzerland is the best place to start a startup and to start adventure, because this is something also, this is a big thing. PlanetSolar, SolarStratos is not a business.
Right.
It's an adventure.
Okay.
And this is a good thing in Switzerland, because if I would like to make a project like PlanetSolar or SolarStratos, I think in United States, they will ask me, okay, but what is the business model behind? We have no business model. We are just doing an adventure. It's exploration.
Okay.
In order to demonstrate what we can achieve with solar energy.
It's not about return on investment.
To continue to show to the young generation that in the world of tomorrow, there will still be possible to do what we do today without burning fuel.
Right.
And I think you can do this only in Switzerland or in Europe. In United States, or probably in China or in the Middle East, when you do something, it's just to make a business, to make money.
Okay.
And this is not what I want to do. And I think Switzerland, in Europe, it still be possible to do an adventure and not just to make a business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And I think it's
That's very inspiring.
And I think it's also important this because you can, if you do this like Solar Impulse, it was not a business.
Right.
Alinghi, it's not a business.
Right.
It's just sailing. And I think it's a good thing that we have in Europe. It's still possible in Europe to do some very nice adventure, not just to make money, just to do something at the end is just to make money.
Which at the end actually helps sort of brand Switzerland, right?
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
So there's a
the spirit of adventure. Spirit of adventure, I think, is important. The life of everyone is an adventure.
Yeah.
And I think to keep the spirit of adventure, I think is really important. And this is something that we have in Europe. And I think we need to use more in order to make crazy things and to keep, and to stay in the loop of the best place in the world.
Not crazy, but crazy in terms of big dreams, right? And I think that's a fantastic
dreams.
I think it's a fantastic thing that you're doing.
Dreams big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, Raphael. This has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for what you do for Switzerland.
Oh, gosh. You too. Thanks.